Welcome back to Sustained Overruled. I am the anonymous attorney. So today, day 161 of the YSL trial. Okay. I know I said I'd be here at 9:30. I am a bit early. I had to get on here early because I did not expect Viverito's testimony to go as long as it did. So I figured I'd get on here, get started early, so we're not up too late. All right. So we're gonna start off. When I was listening to today, because I was not really watching, I was listening because I was working on the side. When I was listening to today's proceedings, I realized that Lucci's name came up an awful lot. Jeffrey's name, Jeffrey's name has always been, they've always just talked about him. But Lucci's name came up quite a lot. And with the hits on him and his tracking, I could not help but think about Toya having concerns about Reginae being in a relationship with YFN Lucci. And based on what we've heard in court, it makes perfect sense why she um, challenged her daughter when it came to her relationship with this man. Okay, there's a more recent video that I just could not find it. It was, I don't know, I know I saw the video. I saw the video somewhere on these YouTube streets. But let's jump right into it. Let's jump into it. This is Toya confronting Reginae about wife and Lucci.
The day at the kickball thing.
Oh my God, that was so fun.
I love the idea of bringing all the families together.
I agree.
And now that
Right, so
me
this
and
is
Beatty
just
had
some
our
background.
talk, things are going so much
Yeah,
better.
she told me about
Like she's
that.
coming around more.
Yeah.
That was long
Yeah, Mom,
overdue.
but I was telling Beatty also, you're a little crazy to get along with.
You think so?
I know so.
I tell you things to avoid you making the mistakes that I've previously
All right,
made.
come on.
My mom can be a little overbearing sometimes. I feel like she wants me to do everything her way, but I'm gonna go my way. You know.
Nay, we need to talk about you and Lucci.
Talk about it.
Because y'all be having this internet going on, and
Mom
I don't
always
be liking
knows.
that, and I be telling you about it, and you don't be wanting to hear it. And that's not being controlling, that's just being a concerned mom. I don't want to get on the internet and somebody saying, you stuck with me. That was a red flag.
We were arguing, and I was about to, break up. And then that's when he was like, oh, you think I'm gonna let you leave me? You stuck with me. He wasn't really serious. It's not like he'd be like crazy. Like,
that ain't what's up. I don't want no to come up under my picture and be like, you stuck with me.
You stuck like, girl, you ain't gonna believe you stuck with me.
If I don't want you, I don't want you. You cut off.
Well, I mean, I stuck with you. Like, I like that. The baby.
Why do you like that?
Because I do. It's attractive. Like,
What is wrong with y'all new kids? That's not attractive.
Toya was
You
not
stuck with
having
me,
it.
You mine, you my property, you ain't going nowhere.
She was not having it.
No. It make me think you crazy as hell when I hear that. I have a friend that I lost behind a crazy man.
Oh
so
my gosh. He's
No.
not, I know.
I don't take that type of lightly. This is not over.
Tell her,
This
Toya.
conversation is the first conversation, but it won't be the last. You're gonna go through stuff, but just don't be a fool.
You didn't raise no fool.
I know I didn't.
I'm young. I'm living. I'm learning. And I feel like my living and my learning should not be considered as dumb.
All right, Nay. Yeah, but as I was focused on what is this? The trial, the criminal proceedings, the testimony, I could not help but think how, I mean, we just don't want anybody else to be collateral damage. I'm a bit, how do I say? I'm a bit progressive in terms of gangs. And what I mean by that, I understand gang activity. If people are going to have a shootout, have a shootout, but we just don't want collateral damage. You don't want people that have nothing to do with your beef in the crossfire. Okay. So the testimony, we're going to focus more on or at least the parts of the testimonies, if I can get the timestamps right, where they talked about YFN Lucci. And this man was targeted Okay, it sounded like he was targeted. Okay, and I, as I said, I just could not help but think, what if anybody else was, what is this, collateral damage. I kind of wanted to start off with Mr. Sprinkle though, but we're probably gonna skip Mr. Sprinkle until tomorrow. He was today's first witness. There were only two witnesses today. He was the first witness on the stand, and let me see. He did not I mean, he did his. He kind of made a bad witness. He made a bad witness in the sense that he would he would volunteer information that was not asked of him, and I guess that's okay, but you don't want your witness to do that because it's not good for the case, or it's not good for your side. And then let me see. Then we had cross examination. Let's get into the cross examination because I like to critique cross examination. We're going to get into his cross examination, and then we're going to focus on Viverito and her testimony. But I'm going to find the timestamps that apply specifically to YFN Lucci. So let's see. Let's find Weinstein. That's who we need to get. All right. So let's get Weinstein's cross, and then we'll get to Shard, obviously. We always have to see what Shard's up to. All right, come on. Come on, can you all come on? I need to put closed captions on these. Mm. Oh my. I should have skipped past this. Somebody said Love will never show her face again. I thought she got kicked off the case. I don't want to miss. Don't want to miss. Okay, we're gonna skip. I don't want to focus on Shard. I don't want to focus on Shard too long because obviously his cross examination is always going to be good. Okay, that's how skilled he is. I wanted to focus more on Weinstein. Um, there's a timestamp. I have 10:03 here, where Shard asked this witness what I thought was a brilliant question, but we're going to focus on Weinstein. All right, come on. Sir. Objection. Objection. This man cannot cross examine. There's no amount of money that anybody could give me to convince me that this man knows how to cross examine, knows nothing about cross examining a witness. Sheesh. Associated with what? Yeah, I don't even. These two should not even be talking to each other. They shouldn't be doing that. What a mess. Look at her face. He asks, this man does not know how to cross examine. Your client is on the hook. And prior to, let me see, is it before? No, I think that is right before Viverito gets on the stand, where I think we're going to get right into it. Sir, your client has guilty pleas that are about to, you already know these guilty pleas are going to get admitted into the record, and your focus, I don't know, this man cannot cross examine. And that's what I keep saying. A lot of folks, um, a lot of folks have negative views about public defenders. What people do not realize is that public defenders are very skilled because they do the same thing day in and day out. I mean, not all of them, but a good majority of them actually know what they're doing. As for a an attorney that was focused prior to this, an attorney that has spent the majority of their lives doing, or their work lives, careers, um, practicing in civil litigation and then transitioning to criminal law, you are taking a huge risk. This man does not know what he's doing. Okay, we're not going to focus on the redirect because not a lot comes out of there. And then here, these pleas are going to get admitted. They're going to get admitted. One moment. And that's where these defense attorneys should really be focusing. Because conspiracy is kind of easy to, I wouldn't say easy to prove. The burden is still very high. But in comparison to other charges, um, probably a prosecutor stands a very good chance of getting a conviction on that charge. Same as a RICO, because that's why they keep bringing it. Um, and then let me see. Let me look at my notes here. One moment. Right. Let's see. That's Paige smiling. There we go. She looks like she's been getting some sleep. All right. Let's wait for Hilton. Oh, I went too far. I went too far. All right, Hilton with the high heels. All right, Simone. All right, come on. And I have, I wanted to say a theory. It's more of a conspiracy, really. My conspiracy is that if the jury takes under 10 hours to deliberate, I would chalk that down to probably acquittals, maybe. Yeah, I'll chalk it down to acquittals, and that's probably going to be jury nullification, because this case has been going on forever. So I would be very, very surprised if they deliberate for anything under than 10 hours. Anything under than 10 hours, I think that I think they're just over it, ready to go home, and they're gonna acquit these guys. But if they do take slightly longer, maybe getting into, I'd say, 24 hours of deliberation, then there might be some folks that are not exactly convinced, that probably, I don't know, the jurors are going to try and convince each other in order to come to a unanimous decision. I still do not see how they are going to get over the conspiracy charges. And then, as well as for Kendrick, I mean the judge. Let me let the judge admit the pleasing to the records. All right, so let's just go over the specific counts. I'll go over these very quickly. So for Yak, the first count, that is conspiracy to violate the RICO Act. And then if we go down to 63, or was it 53? I think she said 53. So if we go down to 53, that is possession of firearm by a convicted felon, previously convicted of a felony involving the use of or possession of a firearm. That's what I hate. I absolutely hate plea dealing. You'll hear me say this over and over again, because plea dealing, again, it's coercive, and it just what is this? It basically simplifies the prosecution's job. Okay. And again, we can talk about the difference between substantive truth and factual truth, but I'm not going to bore you with all those details. And then for who's this? For Stillwell, one is the same 52. Let's scroll down here. That is also possession of a firearm. So, all right, enough talking. Let's get in here. I'm trying to get my timestamps right when it comes to Viverito because we want to focus on Lucci in this. I mean, this was a lengthy testimony, but we're gonna get through it. They're not playing. Hmm. Well, I don't know. I don't know why they played, but it's their business. That is their business. What possession of marijuana less than an ounce, and you guys, I don't know. Anyways, that's the issue. So, all right, let's get Viverito on the stand. And they are moving so quickly. I do not see the state going beyond. Even yesterday, I kind of forecasted that Viverito would probably be their last witness. I'll be surprised if they put anybody else on the stand. I don't even know who they'd put after her, unless I don't know, maybe another co-defendant or something along those lines. But that would be a terrible way to for the prosecution to end its case, because you don't know what the co-defendant is going to say. So I'd like to think they're ending with her. And is Viverito actually her? Is that her real name? I was thinking about that randomly as I was driving home. I'm like, is that really her name or is it? I don't know. She might be undercover, or I don't know. I don't know why she's not on camera, but anyways. When she was talking about her credentials, it really sounded like she was preparing for a job interview. All right. I thought that Viverito did a lot of talking because she would often volunteer information that was not asked of her. And that's how I know. That's how I know that cross examination is going to be a lot of fun, especially on the short. No, ma'am, stay on task. The only reason why I am letting this play is because we want to hear Shard's objection. He's going to object, and Paige is going to have a response for him. Talk a lot about please. Because girl, it's interviewing, baby. She talks a lot. Yeah, she does a lot of talking. All right, this is the objection. I liked Paige's response here. If you're going to challenge her expertise, or if you don't want her to be qualified, then stipulate. All right. So let's see. They go to sidebar. Let me find the right spot. Let me find the right spot. I'm gonna get back. She's still advertising. She's still advertising for her services. Let's see. So that was 10:48. Hold on. When short, that was 10:48. So I'm trying to get to 10:53. That was the time, Eastern time. So let's see. Hopefully I did not go over. And I do not agree with that objection. I don't think that was eliciting hearsay. Uh, Hearsay out of court statement offered for the truth of the matter. Because she was going to name names if that's how she was going to respond. But I don't think I disagree with that objection. This is really where Shard and Weinstein should be objecting because all she's doing is leading. In order to rattle Hilton, you have to object because she's leading the witness. And that's what I keep saying. This Viverito, she's obviously testified before because she investigated this case, but she volunteers information that nobody asked her. No bueno. I may have inadvertently skipped over a portion that I wanted to play. Let's see, I'll let it play for about 5 minutes and then I'm gonna have to fast forward if I actually skipped over it. Yeah, I skipped over it. In any event, Viverito was asked, I don't know, something to do with the techniques that she's employed to investigate gangs. And she basically said that jail calls are great. Okay. They are a great source of, I guess, sealing the case for the DA's office. And I wanted to talk a bit about jail calls, but that would be a separate. I'll make it into a separate video. Okay, so this was exactly around 11 a.m. So I'm gonna try and fast forward to. We want to get to her talking about thugs sharing, or folks in YSL sharing Lucci's flyers, his performance flyers. Let's see, where are we? Okay, let me try and get. I think it's going to be around here. Let's see. Hopefully, I didn't get too far. All right. Oh, I just realized I was not sharing my screen the entire time. That's crazy. All right, hold on. Let me share the right screen. I've been here for 30. I've been on here for 37 minutes and I was not sharing my screen. That is insane. All right, let me share the right screen. There we go. There we go.
VV2B, 227 VV2C, and 227 VV2D. If you can look at those and tell me if you recognize those items.
Sure. Yes, I recognize them.
And how do you recognize them?
They are text messages that were extracted from Mr. Huey's phone, his phones, as well as two contacts that were stored in the phone.
Okay. And those appear to be accurate depictions of text messages and the contacts that were in the phone that you reviewed back in 2020.
They do.
Right. Your Honor, this time the state would like to admit State's Exhibit 227 BV2A, 227 BV2B, 227 BV2C, and 227 BV2D into evidence. Now, Investigator Viverito, when looking through the phone, well, let me ask you this. Prior to getting involved with this investigation with Marquavius Huey, did you have any knowledge of any beef between YFN and YSL?
Yes, since 2015, YSL and YFN had an ongoing conflict.
Overruled.
And
what you talking
when
about?
you were working with the GBI task force in 2020, did you have knowledge of that beef?
I did.
All right. Now, when you looked inside of Mr. Huey's phone, did you see any conversations in his phone regarding an individual by the name of Lucci?
I did.
Okay. And generally, what information was in the phone that you saw about an individual Lucci? What did you see in the phone?
I would see that when Lucci or Mr. Rayshawn Bennett, when Mr. Bennett would have, there was a handful of performances or appearances within the city of Atlanta. The flyer would be shared either by Mr. Williams or Mr. Huey. And Mr. Huey would talk about going to handle that. And would be told or asked to go handle that.
And you said he would be talking to Mr. Williams. How did you know, when you're saying Mr. Williams, who are you referring to?
Jeffrey Williams, also known as Young Thug.
how did you know he was speaking with Jeffrey Williams?
Right.
Based on the phone numbers that he was in communication with, as well as how they were named in the phone, but the phone numbers themselves.
I'm going to first show you what's been admitted as 227 VV2C.
Okay.
And it should come up on your screen in a moment.
I want to see what the chat's saying. Somebody said Judge giggles like she just got out of bed. That's funny.
Now, first, looking at 227 VV2C, what is the jury looking at?
You're looking at,
And honestly, I don't even know if there's any other trial where they mention snakes as much as this trial. This is, I don't know,
when you extract a phone,
probably a world record or something.
if you go to your address book in your phone, you'll pull up contacts or a contact card. This is what it looks like when the phone is extracted. When you receive it back on a hard drive and you're going through the phone, this is what it's going to appear as. So you may have mom, a phone number, and that information. This is how it appears in a forensic phone extraction.
And for 227 VV2C, do you see a name associated with this contact?
Yes.
And what is the name?
It's named Slime, and it has some emojis with the name.
Okay. And are you able to tell what the emojis are?
It looks like a snake emoji, and I don't know if you guys can see. It has to be like the iPhone emoji.
And then in this phone, when it says deleted, do you know what that means?
I mean, these comments are useless in this chat.
I would assume that they kind of don't see it on my copy where it says deleted.
Where it says deleted in the left-hand column?
Oh, okay. There you go. So yeah, that would be, I would assume that means that contact was deleted or removed from the device at some point, but still stored in the memory of the device somewhere.
Okay. And where it has other, what is in the other category?
That would be the number associated with that contact.
All right. And then for the created category, what's the created category?
That's going to be the date that the contact was added to the phone. So say you meet somebody, you add their contact to your phone, you put them in your address book, that's going to be that date.
Okay. And then if it was modified, what does that mean?
Modified could be you change their name, you add a last name, you delete the contact, or you modify the number in any way.
All right. And what was the phone number associated with this contact in the phone?
We're trying to get to the flyers of Lucci's performances, so that's why I'm going to keep let this play.
139101192.
Now I'm going to also show you 227 VV2D.
Okay.
All right, come on.
First, I want to start with the other. What is the phone number associated with this contact?
213-910-1192.
And is that the same phone number from 227 VV2C?
It is.
Right. And when you look at the name, what is in the name section?
So here, it's going to appear as almost like a bug type emoji, but
That's what it
I
looks
had a
like.
chance to review the physical device. It is a spider emoji. That's just how it translates to, I don't know if you have friends, if you have an iPhone, your friends, the Android, sometimes the emojis don't translate correctly. When you extract the phone, that's what happens here. So when you look at the physical device, it's going to be a spider.
And then what was the created and modified date on 227 VV2D?
March 1st of 2019 is created and modified November 22nd of 2020.
And through your investigation, did you associate this contact with an individual?
I did.
And who was that?
Jeffrey Williams.
All right. Now I'm going to publish 227 VV2A. Okay. And I want to go to slide 2. What's being depicted in slide 2? And if we can zoom in, because I know it's pretty tiny.
So,
All right, click on it.
just like in your phone, when you send a message, typically the message you're sending is going to be in green for iPhones, blue if they have the sent recipient has an iPhone. It's going to be on the right-hand side of the conversation. What that is going to be is it's a flyer for a YFN Lucci performance or appearance.
Okay. And who sent the flyer, and to whom did the flyer get sent to?
Mr. Huey sent that flyer to Mr. Williams.
And looking at slide 3, in the middle, what is in the middle? Is that this attachment of what the flyer is?
Yes.
Now looking at slide number 3, is that the attachment?
It is.
Location and everything.
And for the record, what does the attachment say?
It is a flyer. I think it was a performance or an appearance. It was a mixtape release for Mr. Bennett at the Diamond Club, which, from my experience with other investigations, is a YFN stronghold.
And
Isn't that a strip club or something? Or am I mistaken?
if you need to, you can use the screen to help point out as well.
Yeah, so you'll see it's just saying he has a mixtape release, and this is at
They
the
had
Diamond
that
Club
man on
on
their
Northside
radar.
Drive.
Now looking at slide 3.
Okay.
Slide 4, excuse me. Starting.
Somebody dug up Viverito's LinkedIn profile. Apparently, she did not update her new job or current position.
At slide 4. And if you can either read from the screen behind you or from your paper, or read from the screen behind you, and so we can show the jury. Tell the jurors about the conversation that is happening as a result of this flyer.
So it's a little confusing, but at the time, if you look at the time and dates these messages are sent,
Like
the flyer and the initial conversation is started on Mr. Williams' phone that has a 213 area code or a Los Angeles area code. Once the flyer is sent by Mr. Huey, Mr. Williams switches to his Atlanta phone number and they engage in conversation to where Mr. Williams tells him, handle that tonight, and follows it up with slat. And then Mr. Huey responds, slat.
Baby.
And you said that this was Mr. Williams' Atlanta number. On the left-hand side, it says slime. Would that be the contact, how the contact is saved?
She is leading all the way. Can somebody object? Object, leading.
Yes, that's how it would appear in the phone.
And what is the Atlanta phone number?
It is 404.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, Simone.
789-1371.
And what is the date, roughly the date and times of these text messages?
January 19th, 2020.
Now going to page 5. What is being depicted on slide 5 of this PowerPoint?
That is Mr. Williams using his Atlanta number to tell Mr. Huey on August 15th of 2020, go handle that, and he responds, slat.
And honestly, I would have liked to see how this case would have played out had Jeffrey still been on trial, because ever since it just made me curious, because a lot of ever since he pled out, a significant number of Shard's questions were trained around attacking Jeffrey Williams' home, the search, and the like. So I would have liked to know if he would have asked the same questions if Young Thug was still on trial. He probably would have, but I don't know. It's thought that was a curious one. It was, a bit interesting in terms of his line of.
Now, looking at page 6 or slide 6, excuse me. Now, is this September 2nd, 2020?
It is.
Okay. And what is occurring in this text message conversation beginning on September 2nd, 2020?
Okay, so several months later, Mr. Huey is going to send another flyer for a YFN Lucci appearance or performance. And Mr. Williams responds, "Where's that at?" Mr. Huey tells them, "Claremont." Mr. Williams responds and says, "Slatty handle, stay very low." And Mr. Huey says, "Slat, for sure, I've been out the way."
And looking at the next slide, is this a copy of that flyer?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, 3 p.m.
And when is the
September
date
6th.
of the appearance that Mr.
They have Michael
Bennett is
Angelo.
advertising?
September 6th.
Now, going to the next slide. Does that conversation continue?
It does.
Okay. And if you could say for the record what the conversation.
And what I get from Handle That, I don't know. I don't know what these folks, I don't know what the folks in this chat are talking about, but Handle That seems very clear to me. I don't think there's anything ambiguous about that.
Is as it continues.
Mr. Huey tells Mr. Williams, "I appreciate you for everything, my brother. Never about money with me. I'm built on loyalty." He sends the 100 emoji, which kind of means like, I'm for real about it. Mr. Williams says, "Slat, handle that. I got you." Mr. Huey responds, "Slat."
And this is a hot mess. This is a hot mess.
Now, going to the next slide.
Somebody said Lucci looked like Gary with a T on that flyer. If you know who Gary with a T, then it's kind of funny.
Is there some additional conversation now with the 213 number that's identified as Spider or Mr. Williams?
There is.
Okay. And when is this conversation?
July 20th of 2020.
Okay. So this is after the first Lucci conversation, but before the second Lucci conversation.
Yes.
All right. And what is occurring in
Trying
this
to get that
conversation?
man.
Mr. Huey sends in the first message, you see an attachment. It's a video clip of a friend that wanted really bad. He was like trying to get his career off the ground as a rapper here in Atlanta. He says, "Post this for me, my brother." And then he uses a derogatory term for somebody and says, "That person's out here in LA, twin." Not referring to his friend, he's referring to somebody else, somebody of the opposition, it appears.
Yeah.
Sustained.
Yes.
Paige is
And
tired.
is that just generally the context of this conversation?
I
Correct.
grow
All right.
tired.
I want to move to the next slide. I'm sorry, the next slide. Specifically, on this slide, do you see a message with an individual by the name of Javon Fleetwood?
I do.
And are you familiar with that individual?
I am.
And how are you familiar with that individual?
He's a member of YSL.
Okay. And as a part of your investigation, have you had the occasion to investigate a shooting involving Mr. Fleetwood, where he is the
Okay, I'm gonna fast forward because I don't think they had any more flyers of a YFN Lucci after that. But to go back to my very point, let me share my screen. I need to make sure that I'm sharing my screen this time around. So let's share my screen. Let me see. Hold on. Because it was very obvious, at least from this conversation, that these folks were really after Lucci. Okay. And obviously, Reginae's parents, or at least her mom, must have known something because she was not too fond of that guy. So,
How have you been able to find love, to find happiness?
My first real relationship was Lucci, and it was like it made me who I am now today.
Yeah.
You know, I was dating him at a very young age. I was what? I'm still young, but I was like 19.
Did everybody approve early on?
Who approved?
she knew Toya was not going for that. She was like, no, we're not getting involved. And that's with reason, because based on what we've seen in this trial, based on what we've heard in this trial, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. But let's quickly get in here. Let me see. Was this from yesterday? One moment. I may have. I think it's a wrong screen. Yeah, I was looking for a clip from yesterday, but I'll find it. Let me get back to the. Let me get back to this video, and then I'll find that while we have today's proceedings going.
Larger versions of your color-coded copies of your sex messages.
Yes.
Your Honor, this time the state would like the tender and admit first states exhibit 1 TTB and 1 TTC 1 through 4.
I'm gonna
B
skip
as evidence.
messages.
Before it's democracy.
All right, those are admitted.
And permission to publish.
You may.
I'm gonna skip over here. I think this is the right timestamp.
Of coded language does appear to be coded language.
It does.
Now, is there conversation then between Miss Allison's phone number or Allison's phone number and Adam's phone number?
Yes.
Okay, just tell us your generally the date and time and what's the general context of what's going back and forth between them.
So it starts on February 8th.
Hopefully, I've not gone past the timestamp, but I wanted to focus on the stabbing of Lucci. Hopefully, was it in the text? Let me think. Was it in the text? I might have to go back because it possibly was. Hold on. Yeah, I think it was actually, now that I think about it.
I sent the 15, and she says, I got it. I'm going to get the stamps now and tell them to call me. Okay.
Yeah, I may have gone past.
Mr. Adams' phone and Mr. Garland's phone.
Yes.
Okay, and just go through that conversation, the next set of conversation.
So Mr. Garlington says, what it do, twin? Mr. Adams, who's been in communication with Mr. Myrick, says, my little man right there with the F-U-C-K, racial expletive. And Mr. Garlington says, oh yeah, where about? Mr. Adams says, you know which I'm talking about, right? The singer. And Mr. Garlington says, who's locked up? And Mr. Adams says, 650. To which I know that to be a nickname for Mr. Bennett. He will wear a 650 chain. It refers, he goes by 650 Luke. He has music. He has a Maybach, 650 Maybach. That's where it comes from. So Mr. Garlington responds, oh yeah, meet him. And then Mr. Adams says, my little man gonna call back tomorrow. Mr. Garlington says, okay, let me know. Mr. Adams, attempting to use coded language, says, I'm gonna let you know. He's been ready to get an autograph for the game. And then Mr. Garlington says, okay, let me know ASAP. To which Mr.
All right, come on, girl.
And when you said you didn't
Come on, officer.
Instead of saying, my buddy's ready to kill him, my buddy's ready to attack him, I forbid his contraband phone gets. Right. Okay. That's what I'm trying to. If the calls were getting intercepted, when phones get taken, it's an attempt to conceal the activity to the person that made it.
So they're not really trying to get an actual signature autograph for the guy.
No, I'm not trying to get an autograph.
Now, after that conversation, is there some conversation between, Ms. Ellison's phone and Mr. Adams' phone?
Yes.
Okay, when does that conversation begin, and take the jury through that set of conversation?
It begins on the 7th, and they're talking about trying to put Mr. Myrick in communication with Mr. Adams down in the prison system. They're talking about emailing him, texting him. They're asking about stamps in the Fulton County jail system. You have to purchase stamps, the Fulton stamps, to be
Do
able
what?
to send and receive text. So you get about 30 cents that will allow you to send a certain amount. It's not free. So she's asking Mr. Adams for money for stamps from Mr. Myrick because they've used their last, and she's facilitating Cash App or Chime, Apple Pay to get the money to him to be able to facilitate stamps being purchased so they can communicate.
And then that communicating via phone?
It's going to be through the jail.
All right. And then there's a call from a number that you're unaware of.
Correct.
And that was not a part of your investigation, investigating this kind of thing.
Yeah, it was just somebody trying to, a third party trying to send the money. Maybe somebody didn't want to use their Cash App blocked, or whatever money happened, so somebody else trying to help out.
And then do they pick up that same conversation trying to get stamps for Mr. Myrick?
Yeah, the unknown number says I sent 15. I'm trying to get in contact with, or Mr. Connolly in the jail. They'll send one inmate may have a Cash App account they're using in the jail, and everybody can send money to, and it might change if somebody's phone gets taken, Cash App account gets shut down. So Mr. Adams in this text message sends the $15 to somebody for section. And then
What?
Allison, I sent the 15, and she says, I got it. I'm gonna get the stamps now and tell them.
Oh, stamps. I heard.
Now, going to February 8th, 2022, is there more conversation between Mr. Adams' phone and the Garlington phone?
There is.
Did I go past it? I think so. I don't think so. Let's see.
Now showing you what's been admitted as 1CTC2. Is there a conversation between the phone associated with Mr. Garlington and the phone associated with Adams?
There is.
Okay, and what is said on February 8th, 2022?
On February 8th, 2022, there's a message that goes out from Mr. Adams to Mr. Garlington where he says, I talked to little bro, he's gonna hit me when the food is done.
And does that mean when the food is actually cooked and finished or something? Is this your
Sustained.
understanding of coding language as well?
It is.
And is your understanding?
Somebody's
of
cooking.
Does it appear to be coding language?
It does.
Now, is there conversation then between Ms. Allison's phone number or Ellison's phone number and Adam's phone number?
Yes.
Okay, just tell us your generally the date and time and what's the general context of what's going back and forth between them.
So it starts on February 8th, and you'll see Miss Elson saying, Cedric wanted me to tell you Chris got locked back up, and he made the news last night. And he says, I seen it when it happened, that shit's crazy.
Now, in your understanding, investigate, do you know what they're referencing?
I do.
And what is it?
They are referencing the incident where Christian Evans shot Officer David Rogers, and he was arrested for that. I believe it was on February 7th, so that means that's it.
Okay.
And he says, see when it happened.
I think I went past it.
Yesterday. And she's saying that Mr. Myron said, he said, ain't shorty a rat.
Oh no, I think this is it. I think this is it. Hold
And
on.
Mr. Adams says, tell him to leave that be him. And Mr. Adams said, focus on the bag. F all the other shit we worried about. It's nothing but business.
What did I say?
Go ahead. Okay. Nothing but business. And they start talking about, he says, Buddy's up under Rico and them. Tell him to bring home the trophy. I'm going to secure the bag. I've been online. Racial expletive. Got to see it to believe it. And Chris being in there is all the confirmation that's going to be needed.
So is that also using some code of language as well?
Some.
And what is your understanding of what's happening in this text?
Basically, tell him focus on the task at hand, and that people are going to get confirmation of it because Eppinger's in there. He's going to be able to vouch for it and say, no, it's happened. I'm here. It actually happened.
And then does that generally the context that's happening between Ms. Allison passing messages to Myrick from Adam in this February 8th conversation?
It is.
All right. Now going to February 9th, is there any messages between Mr. Adams and Mr. Garland?
He just reaches out to him. To me, it appears that maybe Mr. Garlington may have attempted to call him and he couldn't answer. And he says, yo, 12 is on the floor. 12 being a slang term for police. When you're in the prison system, the guards should come around, do rounds. If that's happening, he wouldn't have been able to answer his phone if the call came in.
And then are there conversations between Ellison and Adam, you get on February, also now on February 9th, 2022?
Yes.
Okay. And tell us the general, what's the conversation happening here on February 9th, 2022?
Mr. Adams is engaged in a conversation with Miss Ellison, and he says, yo, and she says, what's up? And he says, tell little bro, I talked to the biggest, just now waiting on the news. They
Who's
think
the
we're
biggest?
flexing. And she says, okay, I'll text this to him.
And go ahead.
And then Mr. Adams says, my name's on the line on this one.
Right.
Don't make me look bad. Oh, it's a follow-up. So yeah, my name's on the
You're
line.
doing a lot of
I'm
texting.
sorry, the text messages, sometimes they come in a little bit out of order. Says, my name is on the line. So on this one, don't make me look bad. He said, I talked to the biggest. He thinks we're playing because the racial expletive is in the same house and it ain't handled. I done put the food on the table. Make me proud.
Now, is this similar to the same text message that you saw in the JPay system when you were first just trying to pull the case? Is that same text message that was in the JPay system?
Yes.
And is that the same text message you read a few moments ago?
Yes.
All right. And is there any further conversation between Ellison and Adams and our passing that?
It looks like there was based on the context, there was I think, and there's a phone call that happens where there's a three-way call that's attempting to happen. Isn't great service in most of these prisons. So he wasn't able to hear him.
The part that I'm really trying to get to is what Myrick, it sounds like what he was paid for stabbing Lucci. I hope I've not gone past it, but I'll play this for a little bit and then I'll switch over to a different video.
So they're trying to get the message across about what had happened in the payment and things like that. And you'll even see he texted this yellow number. He says, nothing, just trying to get confirmation of this thing.
What thing?
Is that confirmation, is your understanding that's a confirmation of the stand?
Correct.
And what day does the standing occur?
May 9th.
May 9th?
I'm sorry, February 9th.
What is she doing to the mic? All right, come on. We need to get going.
Now, on February 10th, is there some conversation between Ellison's phone and Adam's phone?
There is.
Okay. If you can give the general context of what is now occurring on February 10th, and is it the day
What is
after?
she doing to the mic? Or is
Yes.
it
All right.
long
What is
crime?
happening on the day after the sale?
Mr. Myrick, coupled with phone calls. Mr. Myrick
Somebody said, if the biggest ain't sitting in that courtroom, what is the point of this?
is eager to be paid for what he did.
And that's partly how I feel as well, because a lot of this testimony has more to do with Jeffrey Williams than the defendants that are left on trial.
for stabbing Mr. Bennett. So Miss Ellison is texting.
Yeah, I mean, I already instructed you once to not.
Honestly, I cannot wait for this trial to be done so I don't have to hear to Paige Whitaker talk again. I don't know. Uh, Obviously, she's a judge, but her temperament is, I don't know, it's off. It's off.
Include your
And I get it. She was dragged into this, but that comes with a job.
commentary and just provide the facts.
Can I lay some foundation?
DJ Silver says you'll want the judge to stop this. The guilt killing you, or is killing you. So I guess this person is suspecting that, or they think it's foreseeable that a conviction is likely in this case.
Still cause yourself.
I was.
And were you able to pick up tone and manner and demeanor in the call?
His comments are too
Yes.
crazy.
All right. And so that would be your lay opinion that he, okay.
Yeah.
And based on that, is that how you?
Yeah, sure, definitely. I cannot wait for this cross-examination. I know the cross-examination is going to be fire because Shard is a really, really good cross-examiner. And Viverito does a lot of talking. She volunteers a lot of information.
Determining that he was eager to get paid for what he did to Mr. Bennett.
Correct. That was the purpose of his phone calls, were to seek payment for what he had done.
And were there multiple phone calls for him seeking payment for what he done?
Yes.
And with that, Your Honor, may that be?
All right.
Thank you, Your Honor. Okay, looking at February 10th, 2022, just go through what that conversation was on February 10th, 2022.
She said, "Do you need the bros to verify?" He said, "That's all. Should be no talking on the phone right now anyway."
Viverito, stop messing with the mic.
Was that significant?
It was.
Why?
Another person said Paige is over it. That woman has been over it since the first day she was still okay. And then after that, she was over this trial.
Because he was seeking payment and talking about, does it need to be verified to secure payment? And they were talking about not talking on the phone right now because
Okay. How much
what had
was
just
it?
happened.
It being the stabbing with him.
Correct.
All right. And when you say not talking on the phone, for that, not talking on the jail phone?
Correct.
Okay. All right, continue.
He's asking, Ms. Ellison said, Mr. Myers
Okay,
asked.
so somebody mentioned in here, because I've looked up some of these attorneys. I've looked up these two. I looked these two up last night. I had to look up Kayla Bumpus a long time ago. I looked her up a long time ago when she represented, who's this? Woody. And then this person here, AJ from the North, says that Paige hates sloppy work. She was a career prosecutor. So that makes a lot of sense. Her attitude makes a lot of sense. Usually judges that used to be prosecutors tend to be harsher on other prosecutors because they think they would have done a better job. The same applies for judges that are public defenders. I actually used to be excited for judges that are public defenders. No bueno. But they also tend to be harsher on public defenders because we all think we can do a better job.
To get something to eat now. He's hungry. And then he again utilizes an outside person to send
He's
$80
hungry.
to Mr. Myrick.
All right, so that's the part that I basically wanted to listen to again because it sounds like Myrick was paid $80 in order to carry out this hit. I don't know, but again, a currency might be much higher when you're incarcerated. So
It's generally the conversation here, they were just trying to get this money, get paid.
Correct.
All right. Now, skipping down to February 10th, is there now some conversation between Garlington and Adams?
Correct.
All right. Tell us about what's happening between Garlington and Adams on February 10th as well.
Mr. Adams is reaching out to Mr. Garlington regarding what appears to possibly be payment for Mr. Myrick for the stabbing.
And just go through the text.
Okay. Mr. Adams says, get at me But he's at 5, and he says, Mr. Garlington says, okay, when I get off your phone. Mr. Adams says, I'm on your ass. You tried to play me to the left. Then one says, yo. The other says, yo.
Somebody else said Brian Steele would have a field day with this. I don't know. He's too easily riled up, so I don't see that. Short for sure because he's composed. But Brian Steele, too much of a hothead. So somebody said, bro, stabbed someone for $80. Currency, when you're incarcerated, it might be higher than that. So I don't know.
Mr. Adams says, what you got going? Mr.
$80 is kind of
Garlington
crazy.
says, put him down. And he says, for sure. Like, did he put him down? And he says, are you for sure, Simon? He says, yo, twin. And again, Mr. Adams reaches out and says, look, just keep me posted so I can make sure little bro gets something because he's on my top bad. And I told him I was going to get him the back end for his show. Got to pay him a couple racks myself to make sure he's in gang. I recognize when they say Jeezy typically means good. I ain't looking for nothing for me. I'm just invested in my artist. Smell me. I need me and mines. Looks like gone. Go and get it done. For sure, Slat, I'm out here. Hit me, gang.
And somebody said the worst lawyers on the state's case. I don't agree with that. Could they have done a better job? Absolutely. I think everybody in this case, they should have run this case completely differently. They should have had their motions out before jury selection. There should have been deadlines. I think the court, definitely the prosecutor, defense could have helped in getting this ball the ball rolling. But as far as the worst lawyers, I don't think. I mean, the way the presentation was a bit shaky, but there have been moments. Hilton has had some pretty good moments, and the same. I'd say the same about Love. I mean, Love is insufferable. I think the most insufferable attorneys in this case, Love and Steele. I just no, not my cup of tea. But other than that, I think they're on point. They're on point. And this is a difficult case. There are too many people in there to begin with, and they charge a RICO, which they probably should not have brought. But that's their.
And then Mr. Garlington
prerogative.
responds, it's hard to get in touch with him. I just be seeing him when I go up there to the yo. You know, I understand that shit, gang. I'm with you, Slat.
Miss Hilton, you don't have to do it right now, but be kind of thinking about when a good lunch break would be.
This is the last one, so I'll put it right here.
Sounds good.
That man cannot sit still.
All right. And
That's
while
funny.
we're after, so we go to lunch. So what is this still on the February 10th, 2022?
This is what I'm talking about. You can tell his demeanor today is what? No, it's not Friday. Is it Friday? No, it's not Friday. So you can tell Max's demeanor today, which is Wednesday. Contrast that to Wednesday, where he was a bit chilled, and Tuesday, where he pretty much presented in the same manner as today. But he is getting fired up. He's on the edge of his seat.
Okay. And just go through the last bit of that conversation between Mr. Garlington and Mr. Adams on February 10th.
Mr. Garlington says, okay. And Mr. Adams says, for sure.
Solid.
I know it's going to take time, bro. Bro is bigger than big, and he got to be hands off with everything. We locked in from county to 4-4 ever. Slime, I'm rocking, and mine's going with me. It's all hands on deck.
And then does that text message repeat itself?
It does.
All right. And from your investigation and understanding, when he says, for sure, I know it's going to take time, bro, bigger than big, and got to be hands off with everything. We locked in from county to.
Girl, why are you reading?
Who did you understand they were talking about, given your investigation and content?
From my investigation and my knowledge, it sounded like somebody in a leadership role with YSL.
Did you know specifically who?
It appeared to be Mr. Williams.
Objection, Your Honor, speculation.
Sustained.
And a motion strike, move to strike.
Can I lay some found?
You can try.
How long
Paige
have
is
you been
funny.
working with
Our goal said you can try. That is funny.
2019 at least, if not 2017.
And when you were working with these cases, did you ever have any other evidence in which individuals from YSL, from your own investigation?
This is what I mean when, or this is an example of why, what's her name again? Simone is not a terrible attorney. I've seen some very bright moments, especially when defense, there have been cases when defense would object and she would go right ahead and cure that. So she's not terrible. The case was just presented in I don't even know what to call that. I know that there's a word for how chaotic and disorganized this trial has been, but it's what it is.
Attempted to conceal Mr. Williams' identity.
Yes.
And how have you seen that occur?
With the use of FaceTime to conceal his identity, so text messages or phone calls go undetected.
Okay. Have you ever seen in your investigation or listen to jail calls that individual YSL will try not to use his name?
Correct.
Have you ever seen through?
This is really where defense is supposed to be objecting, because Simone has been leading this witness the entire time. This is the information you don't want in there, because that RICO is still hanging over these defendants' heads. Like, object. Why are you just letting her testify?
Social media where individuals will try to conceal and say, don't say his name, say a different name.
Correct.
And in having that knowledge and reading this text message, is that how you determine? It is of your expert opinion.
He's just testifying at this point,
talking about
leading the witness.
Well, objection to leading, and it's also a misstatement of what was said initially. Her opinion is Mr. Williams.
All right. I'm gonna let you clear that up on cross.
And this is what I like. Like Paige, I'm ambivalent about her. Sometimes I like her rulings, other times they're questionable. But this goes back to my point where a lot of the defense attorneys in this case have been very whiny. There's cross-examination, you have closing, so use those to your advantage. They tend to, I mean, obviously he's riled up because this is not good for this is not good for his client. Anyways, so that was a good call on Whitaker's part.
I originally said somebody with a leadership role. I can't definitively say Mr. Williams. I said somebody within a leadership role. So
it could have been Obama, from what we know, because Obama apparently needed to grant authority for the hit to be carried out.
That's who is in the highest leadership role. So.
No, I think it's a good time.
Okay.
All right. So they go to lunch and then they're going to come back. And I just quickly want to switch videos here. We're going to come back right here. We're going to come back to this. Let me share a different screen. One moment. While they are taking a lunch, it's not a real lunch, but let's see. Where's that video? There we go. All right. So let's listen to this.
You were dating YFN Lucci. Have you spoke to him since he's been arrested? Are y'all still in good relationships and good talks?
Have you spoken to him?
I am single.
Okay.
And you know how sometimes relationships work out and they don't. And as for this one, it didn't.
Y'all still speak?
You know.
Yes or no?
Like, no.
Okay. I saw you talking about the struggles of that come with being a single friend. Yeah. Boyfriends don't like you?
You know, right now, I feel like before Lucci, I dated another guy for like 4 years.
And this girl's using her real name and everything.
Then I dated Ray for 4 years. So I never really like not dated anyone. And I'm young. I'm 23 years old. Yeah, I know. So it's like I'm outside, but I'm not outside because I still got respect. And, you know, I can't be outside with everybody because everybody knows me, you know?
You out. Leave the side alone.
Yeah, but this goes back to my point. This girl could have been collateral damage at any given moment, but I'm glad that did not happen to her because Lucci had some folks after him. Okay, they wanted him. Shared his location, performances, flyers. Did not care that there would be other folks there. And honestly, based on, I have a loose definition of what a gang is, but even based on Obama's demeanor, Obama's supposed to be presidential. Okay, I'm I'd like to assume that he got that nickname because he has a lot of authority, or I mean, he must be well spoken. But even that, the way, the manner in which he presented on the stand yesterday, and how terrified he appeared, I don't know. I have a hard time. Somebody's gonna have to convince me that why YSL is not a gang. All right, let's see. No, wrong video, wrong video, wrong video. Hold on. Wrong video. Let's share the right screen. I need somebody to help me. I need somebody to help me with this presentation. No, why do I keep sharing the same video? Why, how's that happening? Hold on, focus. Focus. All right. Is it this one? Yeah, there we go. There we go, there we go, there we go. All right, so they go to lunch.
Let's take our lunch break and let's plan to be back at
Oh, it's not showing up.
1:15, please.
All right. Let's go, and then they come back.
And in your doing that in
Hold on.
2019,
I need to get my timestamps right. So they go to lunch. They get back around 1:26 p.m. Eastern time. Let me just get my timestamps right. Oh, I don't want to go too far.
now that's Viverito. So when we left off, we
Yeah,
talked
126.
about the February 9th, 2022 stabbing of Mr. Bennett. Just going back to 2019.
Yeah, and I mean, they're going to talk for, let me see, if this is around 1:26 p.m., around 1:35, like 9 minutes in, it was very clear that Viverito was not prepared, or she was not as prepared as a prosecutor would have liked. Then they talk about the shade room. So apparently she conducts her investigations on the shade room as well. And then they talk about Woody. Okay, let me find the spot where they talk about Woody. One moment. So this is 126. This is 126 here, which is what I'm going to say, maybe 438. Let's find 40. No, is that 38? Yeah, 38, 48. Around 58, maybe. 58, maybe. 56. Let's do it around here. She talks about Woody.
The Rolling 60s
I have
neighborhood Crips.
commentary about that.
And did Mr. Bennett have a nickname?
He had two.
What are his nicknames?
He would either go by Nard or Stunna.
Who?
Now, you said you looked at his social media. Did you look at anyone else's social media?
No, just his at that point.
Okay. Once you looked at Mr. Bender's social media, what, if anything, did you do next?
When I spoke with the aggravated assault unit, I let them know about a post I'd seen the day before.
What was the post?
Mr. Mender had been driving around Summerhill, tagging Summerhill, kind of laughing while he's driving around Summerhill.
Is that the post that you talked about earlier this morning?
It was.
Okay. Once you informed
I'm trying to get to Woody's part, but I don't want to go over it. I don't want to go past it, so I'll just let this play for a little bit, maybe 5 minutes into it. Maybe another 5 minutes.
Did you ever look in Marquavius Huey's phone around the time of this investigation?
No.
And she's marking them off, baby.
Was Mr. Bennett the only person associated with this case on Gun Club Road?
At that time, yes.
Okay. When you say at that time, what do you mean?
Later on, I had reviewed Mr. Huey's cell phone extraction. I had learned about additional parties that were involved.
What additional parties?
Objection, Your Honor. Hearsay.
Sustained.
What additional parties is not eliciting hearsay? Hearsay is an out-of-court statement offered to prove the truth of the matter asserted. I don't agree with that. I mean, obviously she did not answer, but I don't agree with a lot of the hearsay objections I've been hearing. And Whitaker she's done.
Let me ask you, when did you look at Huey's phone?
I'd say right when I got them back, but it was pretty, there's a lot of things. So it took a while to take a real deep dive into the phone. So I had to do bits and pieces.
Did you look at Huey's phone around the same time when you were assisting Sergeant Henderson with his case in October 2020? Or had you looked at Huey's phone prior to that?
No, around October 2020.
Okay. So when you were looking through his phone in October 2020, is that when you saw information about some stuff that happened in May of 2020?
Correct.
All right. After looking through Mr. Huey's phone, did you ever look at Mr. Huey's social media account?
Yes.
All right, let's
Do you
get to
know an
Woody.
individual by the name of Kenneth Copeland?
Oh, there we go.
How do you know Kenneth Copeland?
I was familiar with Mr. Copeland from when I first started working in Atlanta.
He was well known.
When he was part of the 30 Deep Criminal Street Gang.
He was known.
And I'd supervised him throughout the years.
Woody's well known.
Were you familiar with his social media account?
I was.
In looking at Mr. Menders, Huey, and Mr. Copeland's social media account, did you see any pictures of any of them on each other's social media accounts?
Yes.
When looking at their social media, when did you see them starting to post or have interaction with each other?
April or May, probably of 2020.
Woody's name has also come up a lot, and I remember this was about 4 months ago. Steele had made a comment in open court. I don't believe that the jury was in the box. Now I think it was some type of recess or motion or something, some type of sidebar that they just aired for everybody to see. But Brian Steele literally said that the DA's office made a deal with the devil when they offered Woody a plea with no jail time, or when they actually offered him immunity, and that guy did not deliver. But Brian Steele specifically said that the DA's office made a deal with the devil. And he's been brought up so much as who's this, Jeff? But okay, so
as it relates to the incident in May of 2020 at Gun Club Road, was there anyone ever arrested for that incident?
Okay.
I don't believe so.
So I'm gonna fast forward just a little bit because we're going to get into 58. So let's get to 5. I'm looking at my timestamp. I have handwritten notes, but these are Eastern time. Let's see. So 4:58. You're gonna start talking about Lucci in about, I think it's 10 or 12 minutes. So let's get to 5:08. I want to say. I think this is when they start talking about Lucci.
There was.
Are you familiar with that location?
I am.
And how are you familiar?
Let's go back. All right.
Now I want to take you to May 26, 2020. Was there a shooting at 257 Trinity Street?
There was.
And was there a victim of that incident?
There was.
And who was that?
Marcus Sims.
And were you familiar with that individual?
I was.
How?
He was a friend of Tanquarius Mender.
And to your knowledge, do you know Mr. Sims was a part of any gang?
No, we'd classify him as an associate, but I wouldn't say he's a gang member.
Okay. And associate of what gang?
The Rolling 60 Crips.
Is that because of his relationship
Rolling
with Mr. Alfred?
60s.
Both Mr. Mender, Mr. Alfred.
Sorry. On June 1st, 2020, was there an incident at 361 Edgewood?
There was.
Are you familiar with that location?
I am.
And how are you familiar with that location?
That's an area frequented by members of YFN.
Was there anyone injured during that shooting?
I don't believe anybody was injured, but I think 2 people were shot at.
I want to take you to June 3rd, 2020. Was there an incident at 600 Martin Street?
I think this is it.
There was.
That's it.
And did you have any part of the investigation of that incident at 600 Martin Street?
May I just look quick to make sure we're speaking about the right incident?
Yes.
I think this is it.
Yes.
What was your involvement?
That was a case handled by the aggravated assault unit, but based on the location of where it occurred, we assisted with some information on that investigation.
And what was
How'd you
significant about
assist?
the location where it occurred?
It was the scene of a YFN Lucci video shoot.
Ah. That's why her
At
mom did
600
not want him
Martin
hanging out
Street,
with him.
Is that where is 600 Martin Street?
In Summerhill.
That is why Nay's mom did not want her
And were there any
hanging out
victims
with
in that
Lucci.
case?
I'm unsure if there was a victim, but I know that there was a vehicle struck by gunfire.
And whose vehicle was struck by gunfire?
Mr. Bennett or Lucci.
I want to take you to June 4th, 2020. Was there an incident at 1044 Hank Aaron?
There was.
Okay. And where is 1044 Hank Aaron?
In the Summerhill neighborhood of Atlanta. It's an apartment complex.
And was there any apartments or homes shot at or shot up?
There was.
Who do you know whose home was shot at or shot up?
It was the home for a family home of Sabian Cluster, better known as YFN Fat.
A family home.
And were there any shell casings found in that case?
There were.
And were there any shell casings found at the incident at 600 Martin Street on June 3rd?
There were.
And was that this incident just a day apart?
There were.
Was anyone ever arrested for those 2 incidents?
They were not.
And then I want to take you to June 30th, 2020. Was there an incident at 639 Parkway?
There was.
Okay. And is that in the same or similar location as the incident that happened on May 25th, 2020, near 411 Parkway Drive?
I'd say it's maybe 6 or 7 blocks north of where that happened.
And would you still consider that area the area of the Rolling 60s stronghold?
That was the area in the 4th Ward neighborhood. That was the 600 block is the area that they liked the most.
Okay.
Who's they?
And were there any victims for that particular shooting?
Yes, multiple.
Okay. Who were some of the victims?
There were multiple members of the Rolling 60s Crips, including Shadari Mitchell, Kenneth Long, Demario Franklin, and Marcus Sims was shot and killed that night.
Oh no.
Is that the same Marcus Sims that we talked about from the May 26, 2020 incident?
It is.
And as a result of that shooting, did you look at any social media?
I did.
Isn't she? Oh, she taught social.
Whose social media did you look
I
at?
believe.
I believe I was reviewing the account for Tidrika's Glass.
And was there anything of any significance that you found while reviewing that particular social media account?
There was a live video that I found interesting, yes.
Okay, the reason why I'm letting Viverito continue is because she's gonna talk a little bit about probation, and there's some dangers. There's kind of like an Easter egg, really, but we'll let her talk or testify.
Why did you find it interesting?
They were drinking and dancing around in like a kitchen or something, singing "Drop a Op" and "We Celebrate."
And how soon after?
I'm gonna object the answer the pronoun they.
Sustained.
Okay, is that what the post said?
I believe that, if I remember the video correctly, there should be like maybe two people in the scene, and one of the two YFN associated individuals, or whoever's in the photo, is singing out of their mouth, "Drop Op" and "We Celebrate." Well, they're like pouring shots, I think it was.
Okay.
Shots.
And throughout the rest of 2020, were there just other shootings that you, being a part of this unit, found of note to you?
Yes.
Okay. And were some of those shootings in both the YFN associated territory as well as the YSL associated territory?
Yes.
Now, I want to go back to the stabbing of Mr. Bennett in February of 2020.
Is it here? Yep.
Once you received the text messages and you reviewed them, what, if anything, did you do next as a part of your investigation in determining what was going on with the stabbing of Mr. Rayshawn Bennett?
I continued to monitor jail calls for any chatter that was going on within the jail, because Mr. Bennett, of course, luckily was not killed, to make sure that nobody else was going to attempt anything or way to harm Mr. Bennett.
And as you continue to review jail calls, did you find any additional jail calls of note to you regarding any stabbing of Mr. Rayshawn Bennett?
I did.
Okay. What was that? What did you find?
I found a phone call made by YSL member Christian Eppinger.
And what did you do once you learned or heard that call?
What if anything?
Like once you listened to the call,
what objected speculation?
Anything did you do?
Oh, again, it was a call where a female was acting as a middleman. So to identify the person that she was reaching out to, I obtained phone records for the female, identified the number that she called at that exact time that the jail call was taking place, and then was able to identify the person being called.
And who was the person being called?
A gentleman named Antonio Sumlin.
And did Antonio Sumlin have a nickname?
Obama.
Obama.
Once you heard that jail call or learned of that jail call, what, if anything, what steps did you take after that?
I then decided to apply for wiretap applications for the phone lines of both Demekion Garlington and Antonio Sumlin.
Why did you make that? Why did you decide to apply for a wiretap?
Because we were fearful that until Mr. Bennett was severely harmed or killed, this plot would continue. So we felt that was the best course of action at that time.
Toya was right.
And were you able to be able to go and have a wiretap for both Mr. Garlington's phone and Mr. Solomon's phone?
Yes.
Now, tell the jury, what are the steps that happens once you secure a warrant and you're able to get a wiretap?
I was the case agent on the law enforcement side of things. Then we have like IT people or technical people that they take the paperwork you receive from the judge and they forward it to the phone company. And then usually it takes a couple hours. You have a wire room set up. It's a private, secure location. And I'd say within a couple of hours of submitting the paperwork to the phone company, you'll start receiving data coming in the wire room. You'll start receiving phone calls, text messages, and you'll see sometimes just data, like when you're browsing on your phone or making a video call, you'll see that stuff starts coming in and being registered.
Okay. And as far as the wire room, does that have to be maintained 24 hours a day?
It does.
And why is that?
Because you have to you're now responsible for monitoring what's coming in. You can't leave it unmonitored. Somebody has to be
Come
there
on, let's get to the
monitoring.
right spot.
Now, when you are monitoring those calls, are you able to listen to every call, or are there times you have to minimize or stop listening to the calls?
So everybody gets what's called a minimization training. They get informed of the basis of the case. They're passed out copies of the affidavit so they know what's going on, what allowed us to get there. They read through that. We conduct a meeting. Everybody's informed. We talk about what they should listen out for, what's going on. And then they're explained on minimization procedures. So if somebody calls their grandma, for example, and she's talking about what she's going to make for dinner, or what do you want for me to buy you this year for your birthday? You listen for 2 minutes. And if at the 2-minute mark, there's no criminal activity, you mute or you minimize for 1 minute.
Do they actually do
you
it
give
though?
the full minute, you resume, you
comply
click
with
back
that
in, and you
regulation
listen
or
for another
no?
2 minutes. If there's no criminal activity, you mute again. And I'm sorry, I say mute, I mean minimize. At that time, once you minimize, you cannot go back. The recording stops. And you do that. Now, if there's criminal activity heard that's related to your case, you can listen.
And when you got the warrants, do you remember when you got the initial warrants for both the phone from Mr. Garlington and Mr. Solomon?
I want to say we went up on the line somewhere around like the first week of March. So it should have been around there, like the 10th, maybe years, somewhere around there.
As it relates to Mr. Garlington, were you able to initially listen to his calls?
No.
Obama?
Why not? What happened?
Coincidentally, he had changed his phone number.
Once he had changed his phone number, what, if anything, did you do? Let me ask you, did you try to secure another number for Mr. Garlington?
I did.
How did you go about securing another number for Mr.
Listen
Garlington?
up.
I reached out to his probation officer to
Listen
see
up.
if, to remain in compliance, he may have updated her with his new phone number.
And had he done that?
He had.
And then for Mr. Sumlin's.
And these are the dangers of probation. Certainly, if you get sentenced to probation, you are not incarcerated, but you give up a lot. You give up a lot just beyond your freedom. You're restricted, and they obviously can share. They can share all your information, and they don't even have to notify you. So those are some of the dangers of probation.
Were you able to go up on his phone immediately?
Yes.
How long were you on? How long did you have a wiretap on each of those phones?
The initial application goes for 30 days. So I know we had 30 days on both. And then I did renewals on both. So we did 60 days. I can't remember if Mr. Garlington went into custody before his 60 days was up or not. But we had authorization for 60 days ultimately on both.
Why did you choose to extend the first 30 days?
Because the criminal activity was still pretty active. There were still crimes being committed, still intelligence being gathered.
Now, I want to direct you to March of 2022.
Okay.
With the stabbing of Mr. Bennett inside the Fulton County Jail, did that information ever get released to the public?
It did, but it was delayed.
Okay. And when you said it was delayed, what happened?
I don't believe it hit the news until some court documentation was filed.
And what court documentation was filed?
An emergency motion for bond on Mr. Bennett's behalf.
And do you know when that documentation was filed?
I want to say the first few days of March, I believe.
All right, come on, Simone. We need to get going.
Permission to approach. I'm going to show you what's been marked as State's Exhibit 6TT. But I have refreshed memory as to when that bond here, or when that motion was filed.
Yes,
Okay, when was that motion filed?
March 1st of 2022.
And after March 1st, 2022, did you start seeing public media posts about the stabbing of Mr. Bennett?
Yes, several news outlets picked it up.
Once several news outlets began to pick it up, did you, as an investigator with the gang unit, have investigated this YFN, YSL conflict? Did anything about that report spark any investigation on your part about anything that you were going to do as it relates to the conflict between YFN and YSL?
Based on my experience with with these two groups and the conflicts, we were on heightened alert for any events that or shootings or incidents that may occur.
And by the time the media release occurred, were you already up on the wire, or did that come after the release of the information to the media?
I believe it came after.
Okay. Now I want to direct your attention to March 11th, 2022.
Okay, so they're going to move on
Did
to
you
drinks.
become aware of a shooting on?
All right, so she's going to move on to drinks. I just want to share, let's share a little video here. Let's hear from YFN himself. One moment. Let's see, where's that video? There we go. So let's see what he had to say. This is Angela Lee's, this is a rumor report from 4 years ago.
This is the Rumor Report with Angela Yee on the Breakfast Club. So listen up.
Well, as you know, Nick Cannon has been
No, we're
fired,
not-
Black owned.
not doing
We
all
got
of
to,
that.
Cannon has since apologized.
Hospitals are filling up and more people.
We
For some people that have it, that
What it's like being there was a whole
He said Space Mountain.
Word. No, never mind.
I can't wear this
Visual. That's what I call
Lucci was on
next to be, not behind.
that was her and her own. Lucci was on lip service. And one thing that he talked about was, you know, Reginae, her parents, Little Wayne and Toya, would always tell her she could do better, she could do better. And how did that make him feel? Listen to this.
So when you seen all that stuff going on with Reginae, and then she had both of her parents basically telling her, like, you know, you can do better, did that make you feel some kind of a way?
Ain't bother me because I'm doing better. You go outside. I'm pulling up Maybach. I pull up big truck. I let you drive big truck Maybach. Oh, I ain't tripping about what they saying.
But that's how parents treat their kids, right? You know, with daughters and sons too.
Yeah,
I feel like a lot of mothers, they were like, you could do better than that. You could do better than that. You know, you always feel like that. I would think.
and I hope that, you know, he did say he wants to do better, and hopefully he is changing and he's doing what's right.
Well, he said he already doing great.
That's good.
All right. Well, I'm Angela Yee, and
well, that was, you know, from years before all this RICO stuff and the arrests and the in custody, or, you know, the stabbing that we saw from yesterday's trial. In any event, Toya does not want her daughter messing with no more rappers. Okay, apparently they come with a little too much. In any event, this is the end of my stream. I'll be back tomorrow, 9:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Thank you for watching.